He's the author of Real Estate Evolution. It's the 10-step guide to consistent and predictable income. Dan has had no broke months since 2008, with an average of 10 sales per month since then. He's also invested for the past 20 years and been featured on The Today Show, CNBC, The Washington Post. He was also voted the best of DC real estate agent.
This is The Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it, all tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy.
Welcome back to The Agent Goldmine. Today, we have Dan Rochon in the house. Dan has been an agent for 16 years and he's in the DMV area in Northern Virginia. He's a team leader with 5 agents. But Dan does so many cool things. He also hosts the Real Estate Agents. He helps real estate agents have no broke months, which he hosts a podcast specifically for that. He's the author of Real Estate Evolution. It's the 10-step guide to consistent and predictable income. Dan has had no broke months since 2008, with an average of 10 sales per month since then. He's also invested for the past 20 years and been featured on The Today Show, CNBC, The Washington Post. He was also voted the best of DC real estate agent in the Washington City paper's readers poll. So Dan, I had the honor of being on your podcast and teaching, some things to your crew. And you're just like so much energy and knowledge. And I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you, Shelby. Hello, Allie. How are you? It's a pleasure to be here. I am freaking excited to be on the Agent Goldmine. Just wanted to throw that out there.
We would expect nothing less, Dan.
Nothing less than excitement.
So, yes, I want to kick it off with this. When did you enter real estate? And so, because you say no broke months since 2008, is that when you started? And how did the journey begin?
November 2007 is when I got my real estate license. And Allie, you're probably much too young to remember this. There's this old fashioned thing called a newspaper. You can Google it. I promise you'll figure it out. And in the newspaper, when I got my license, the headlines were financial catastrophe, doom and gloom, worst economic cycle of ever. Oh, by the way, sort of seem familiar, right? And so that's when I got my license. It took me 6 months for me to get my first sale. So November 2007, I got my license. April 2008, I had my first transaction to close. And then between April and the end of that year, there was 2 months that I did not have a sale throughout 2008. And the last time I did not have a transaction close was in October of 2008. And so that's a little bit of my journey to start up and where I'm at now. I can tell you when I got started, I was just like any other agent. I was scared. I was unsure. I didn't know what to do. I got my license to have financial freedom, to be able to have time freedom. And I found out pretty quickly that it was none of that.
Yeah. So I will say, I do remember a little bit about newspapers. I've heard that word just once or twice. But so 2008 actually is when I went to college, and I went to Elon University. Actually, I see that you were featured also in the nightly news with Brian Williams. His son went to Elon like around the same time. And the reason I joined the military was because it was 2008. My parents were in real estate. I really saw them like struggle, although they would never say that. So I joined the military I didn't know a single person that was ever in the military. And then fast forward to now, which is how I was able to start investing, VA loan and become an agent because I wanted more autonomy over my life. So that's the reason I bring that up. So since then, are you seeing like the same or a similar cyclical pattern to where we are at now? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't know if it's the same pattern. There's different circumstance today. I would say that the pattern that's the same. It's the way that we as people, the way that we act, the way that we believe, the way that we think. That's always, that's the same. Yet the circumstances have been different. I mean, throughout my entire journey, there's always been a reason for suck. Whether if it's, the market sucks because of interest rates. The market sucks because there's less buyers, there's less sellers. My buyers can't get something under contract. There's always been a reason, 100% of the time over the last 16, 17 years I've done this, for the circumstance for agents to be able to focus on that. And what I believe is that there's always going to be a circumstance so that we can just say, okay, hey, it's raining outside. Now, what the heck do we do? I'm going to bring an umbrella. All right. So it's not about the circumstance. It's about what do you do in the face of the circumstance. And that's where I see that cyclical is that the mindset of people seems to be the same, yet the circumstance does evolve.
Ooh, so basically, is that like no matter what is happening in the world, people are always going to find the worst thing that's out there and think the sky is falling and think that, their time is worse than the other? Is that kind of what you're saying?
When I started writing the book, Real Estate Evolution, which is the 10-step guide to consistent predictable income, when I started writing that book, there was a company called Purple Bricks. And you would go on to Lab Code Agents, you go on to these other real estate forums, to No Broke Months, the CPI forum on Facebook. You go on to all these different forums, and Purple Bricks was putting us out of business. That's what the conversation was. Yet, before I ended writing the book, it took me 13 months to write the blueprint. Before I finished writing Real Estate Evolution, guess what? Purple Bricks was out of business. Okay. And that was the first time that I recognized that there's always a conversation. There's always something to point at. It's the broker didn't tell me what to do. It's the other agent sucks. It's the home inspector came up and gave me gave me this report of 100 things that were wrong with the transaction. And now my buyer's freaking out. And the other piece of this is what once upon a time, I used to own a rather large real estate brokerage. And I find those same things happen time and time and time again, which is what caused me to ask the question, if it's the same problems, if it's the same things happening, what would our world look like if we had a proactive conversation before something happened rather than a reactive conversation to try to solve it? And that's where my philosophies for the CPI community, the consistent predictable income community, that's where that was founded.
And you have a team of 5 agents. Like essentially, there's a lot of vetting, I think, in order to make sure that when you grow your team, it's with the right people, the right culture, the no victim mindset, extreme ownership. So I would love to talk about what kind of vetting you do to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with agents that don't go out for a run because there's one little cloud in the sky,
Yeah, I would say that I get it 50-50. So in my hiring process, I at best, I get it 50-50. But what I'm really good at doing is collecting. I'm less good at hiring than I am collecting. And what I mean by that is when I find the right people, my mission becomes, how can I help you achieve your goals? My life becomes, how can I help you get what you want? And when I get the right people, they tend to stay with me. Now, when I get the wrong people, then we exit pretty quickly. And so I do have a hack of hiring I thought was something that is unusual, something that you can use in your business today, which is if I'm hiring an agent, if I'm hiring anybody, I don't hire anybody. I go through and I take a look and say, I go through all the screening questions. What's your work history? What's your experience? What's your interests? What's your goals? What's your habits? I look for the behavioral characteristics. SCARLET is the acronym I use for that, which is, are you a self-starter? Are you competitive? Are you assertive? Are you relationship based? Are you a team player? Do you like to learn? I think I missed one in there. But we go through and we identify what's the behavior, what's the quality, what's the record of success. And then at that point, I say to them, would you like to shadow me for 2 weeks to a month? I would love to be able to refer business to you. You stay at the brokerage you're at with right now. Don't join me. Do not join me. I don't want you to join me. I want you to come in and shadow me. And I'll explain your business. You'll work the systems that I've developed. You'll learn the systems that I developed that are proven to be able to get hired 85% of the time. And now if you embrace them, if you implement them, if you succeed with them, we'll have a hiring conversation. But right now, we're not having that conversation. And then after, say, 2 weeks to a month, if everything looks like it's going the way it's supposed to go, we'll have that hiring conversation. And then at that point, it's a 50-50 shot. So it's actually a lot more intentional and a lot more effort than what you expect.
I can imagine. And especially since you don't want to just refer anybody business, you want to make sure that you're, even those that qualify for the pool of those that you will allow to shadow you. What does that look like? Who do you even give this opportunity to?
Well, first of all, the reality of it, part of this is I tell them, I said, look, if you come onto my team or you come in and shadow us, and if we're not the right fit and we don't close something, or we do close something rather, pay me whatever you think is the right referral. I don't even sign a referral agreement with them. And it's only happened to me once where something closed and they didn't pay me a referral fee. That 25% that I did not earn, or 50% if they were a part of the organization, was the best $2,500 I could have ever invested. That was more of an opportunity cost than anything. Because I would much rather lose $2,500 on the upfront than get a piece of shit with the wrong person. And so it's I think Zappos says something like, you come in and you work for us, and after a month, we'll give you a $2,000 check to leave because they want to be in business with the right people. And I may not be completely right about that, but it's that same philosophy. It's like, come on in, and, if you close something and it doesn't, we're not the right fit, pay me what you want. Pay me what you think is fair. Because if you pay me nothing, or you pay me something that's not, that's not fair, hey, that's good with me, because now I just saved myself a whole heck of a lot of time, effort, energy, and just really a whole bunch of just bad stuff that I just avoid.
I'm super curious about, you used to have a large brokerage and now you have a team of 5. Can you talk to us about that transformation and the why behind it?
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Allie the Agent and The Shelby Show.
Sure. Well, being a broker owner is a different business than being an agent, a team leader. And what I mean by that is being a broker owner, your client, your customer is the agent. And so as a broker owner, you're there to be able to hire as many agents as you can, that they'll be productive, and then to be able to support them for their goals. Yet when you're at a larger scale, it becomes much more difficult to be able to, serve, a lot of people. With a smaller organization, my client, my customer is still the buyer, still the seller, still the landlord, still the tenant. That's still my client. Yet I'm able to fulfill my vision, my mission in life by serving the 5 people that are closest to me. And so I'm able to make an impact because I only have 5 people that I pour into. Now I pour into those 5 people with the expectation that they then do the same to their people. And so the client still in this, where I'm at in my life today, my client is the fiduciary, or the principal rather. That is the client. And I'm able to serve the client through a small team of people.
It's cool. It reminds me of the military a little bit. Allie and I were both, she was Air Force, I was Army. And they talk in the military about how, within leadership chains, you can only really well serve 5 people. And after that, you are stretched too thin and things start falling through the cracks, and those individuals aren't getting the amount of development that they need and want. So I feel like it's cool. It's you were able to, because a lot of the people, I think, get the ego wrapped into them, and they're like, I want bigger, I want this large brokerage. But if you take a step back and you think about, you mentioned vision and mission and serving the people, the 5 people closest to you, it seems like a really cool twist of change in your direction in order to fulfill that vision and mission well.
Yeah. If you think of the military, the largest unit in the military is a squad. And that's 8 to 10 soldiers. Outside of that, it's pretty much 4. So you look at how many squads are in a company? 4. How many companies are in a battalion? 4. How many battalions in a brigade? 4. So you have, most leaders within the military, for example, has 4 people that they're leading, or 4 leaders that they're leading rather. And so you're able to get a lot done when you lead a small team of people to be able to lead a larger organization. And if you can break it down into the military doctrine to what you just shared, that would be like, that's the best way to be able to grow a business. But for most agents, they're not looking to grow something that big. For most agents, they're just like, hey, how the heck do I find a sale? How do I get the next, piece of business? Right. So it's just depending on where the agent is based off of, what the conversation that we're having.
Let's talk about the 3 frameworks of sales.
So framework number 1. So if you're listening to this right now and you want to be able to have no broke months, if you want to be able to have sales, and you want to be able to have a consistent, predictable income, something that you can rely on, then there's 3 steps that I'm going to teach you. And I'm going to, if you're driving right now, listening to this, I'm going to ask for you to put this on pause and wait till you get home and play it again, because this is going to be an interactive conversation that we're going to have. So I'm going to ask, if you're listening or viewing this right now, go ahead and take out a piece of paper, take out a pen. And when you're in a place that you're able to relax, when you're in a place that you're able to be at peace, when you're at a place that you're able to find your zen, I want you to be able to ask yourself the question, why do I real estate? So this is step 1 that we're going through right now, which is discover your why. And it's not the why, like I'm going to go bring fresh drinking water to the Sahara Desert. It's not the why, like I'm going to change the world. It's not the why, like my agent that, that helped me buy my home sucked, so I thought I could do a better job. No, it's the real why, which is I got to pay my mortgage. I'm 3 months behind on my car payment. I got to pay groceries. It's the real, no BS. Why are you doing this today? And so I'm going to ask you, in that quiet spot, in that place, you can even put some spa music on. You can put some maybe jazz study, focus music on. And I want you to really take some time with this and ask yourself, why do I sell real estate? Then you answer the question, why do I sell real estate? Then I'm going to ask the second question, which is, what's important to you about that? So now you got the question, why do I sell real estate? What's important to me about that? And then ask the next question, what's important to me about that? And continue asking yourself that question, what's important to you about that, until it sinks to your heart. The answer does. You'll know when you get there. So for example, for me, I sell real estate so I can provide for my daughter, which means that I'm a worthy dad. When I got to the worthy dad part, at that point, I had clarity that that's what it was that sunk to my heart. When I started selling real estate many years ago, it was, I sell real estate so I can pay my bills so that I never have to go back and wait tables ever again. That's what got me powered. So step 1 of the framework is to discover, why do you sell real estate? And no BS, way about that. Take whatever you just said, what you discover, and write it on a sticky note. You take that sticky note and you put it on your keyboard, you put it on your board on your laptop. And now that becomes your compass. Step 2 is go ask your best friend, go ask your spouse, discover for yourself, go ask who cares for you the most, who you care for the most, and ask them the question, what am I really good at doing? And that may be, you're good at playing chess. That may be, you're good at skipping rope. That may be, you're good at grocery shopping. I don't care what it is. I want you to write down, here's what I'm really good at doing. And I want you to take, another day, and I want you on a blank piece of paper or 5 or 10 blank pieces of paper, write down every single God-given talent that you have, every single strength that you have, every single skill that you have. And I want you to brainstorm on it. I want you to write every single one of these components down on a piece of paper. That's step 2. Step 3. Now on a separate day, on a new piece of paper, I want you to ask the question, how can somebody, not how can I, how can somebody find real estate business? Open house, for sale by owners, expired, YouTube marketing, networking. Write down put a billboard up, fly a banner on the back of an airplane, radio ads, television ads. I don't care what it is. Every single way that you could consider that you could find business, write it down on that piece of paper. And now you have a framework. This is the 3-step framework. So now we're going to put it all together. So now you're going to take the third exercise, which is how can how can an agent find business? And then you're going to look at what's my God-given skills. That's in step 2. And now what you're going to do is you're going to say, if these are my God-given skills and here's the ways I could find business, you're just going to match and pair. So for example, if you're very comfortable, if you're somebody that makes other people feel warm and fuzzy, and you maybe touch people on their shoulder when you talk to them and you make people feel great about themselves. Well, you look over on that list of how can I, that's your God-given talent from step 2. You look at step 3, which is how can I make sales? And you look at the thing that says open houses. Well, that's a way that you could. Well, geez, if I make people feel great when I talk to them, and a way I can find business includes doing open houses, that's your way. Then that becomes your job description. 1 to 3 hours, 5 days a week, you do whatever it is that you discover as your job description. And if you get off course, look back at step 1 and you ask yourself the question, do I really want to be a worthy dad? Do I really not want to go back and wait tables? And when you work these 3 frameworks, you work these 3 steps together, that is the fundamental way that you will have no broke months.
What I really like about that is that it's not just for people that are just starting out in the business. At any point in your journey of being a real estate agent, you can apply this. Whether you're, 1 year in, 15 years in, because people will always go like narrower and narrower, I think. Like in there, they realize, they write off open houses, they write off cold calling. But then if you go back to the framework of all the possibilities and rediscover yourself, really, like, for example, I just got back from 5 Pillars retreat, and we had a speaker there where we learned like NLP stuff. And I discovered, without knowing, that I am actually a kinesthetic like learner. And I didn't know touch was so important to me. So I would have never thought that, I would have never known that. And then going back to the basics, doing this like on 3 separate days, being able to match like open houses should be higher on my list, going back to what are my quote unquote God-given talents. I like that.
Dan, I would actually love to hear how you use that within your own experiences, or if it makes more sense in this conversation, how you might educate your agents to use it in their businesses. Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that.
All right. So neuro-linguistic programming is the study of excellence, and it's the study of subjective experience. Okay. So I think we all understand what excellence is. Subjective experience, sometimes people don't understand that. So if you think about objective and subjective, so objective is 100%. Like if you listen to this on audio right now, I'm holding up one finger, and Allie and Shelby can 100% say Dan is holding up one finger, and it's not the middle finger, by the way, it's the index, just because I'm polite. All right, so I'm holding up one finger, and objectively we can say that that's one finger. Subjectively, we can say that's a beautiful finger, Dan. That's probably that's a beautiful set of eyeglasses. Now I'm holding up my eyeglasses. Okay. So subjectively is an opinion. All right. So it's an opinion of whatever it is that we perceive. So our opinions as human beings are derived from our experiences. They're derived from our education, from our culture, and from our upbringing is how we develop our subjective experience. So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is just simply the study of subjective experience. And so now that we understand what subjective experience is, what we have to discover is that we have, as individuals, a subjective experience, and so does everybody else. And so in communication, when I'm speaking with Shelby, Shelby's interpreting this from her subjective experience, from her culture, from her beliefs, from the way that she was raised, from the interactions that she's had in life. And so she's perceiving this communication in one way, and I'm perceiving this communication in one way. Now, if Allie was watching this, which she is right now, and if it's just Shelby and Dan just having a conversation, it's actually the 3 of us, right? But if it's just the 2 of us having a conversation, then that's a third perception of the way that you can perceive, again, subjective experience, the way that you can perceive a communication going back and forth. So there's a lot of ways that you can use NLP in sales, but the basic understanding with what I can communicate in a quick manner is to understand that we are all different, that we are all right from our perspective, okay, that we all approach life with one of the NLP presuppositions is that we do the very best that we can do, given the tools and resources that we have available to us. And so because of that, when you're communicating with somebody, and let's say you get a communication that doesn't seem to work out the way that you want it to work out. Well, another NLP presupposition is that communication is the response that we get. So let's say you go in a buyer and they say they want to buy a $550,000 home, and you find out that they want to buy something different. Have you ever heard of buyers are liars? Has that ever been something that we've heard? Yeah, we've all heard that, right? Well, instead of saying buyers are liars, we could also take on the responsibility of who am I being such that I got the response, because if communication is the response that you get, who am I being to get that response from that person? Because if I get the response that I don't like, then I could choose to take ultimate responsibility to then reframe of who I'm going to choose to be so that I can get a different response. And so, in my CPI certification course at NoBrokeMonths.com, that's one of the courses that I teach, which is a 3-day certification, which I go through and I teach agents how to use NLP on a much more, a deeper level than what I just described. I'm just giving you the basics right now, which is if you can understand that everyone just perceives the world in whatever way that they perceive it, if you just understand that one premise, that one presupposition, then you can become a better sales agent. You can make more sales.
I'm curious a little bit about your course. Can you just tell us a little bit? You mentioned CPI certification, the NLP class. What are the things that, Dan, what do you have going on in the world that agents could capitalize on?
Well, the CPI certification is a compensated class. So there is an investment. It's a small investment for somebody to attend that class. We do that on a quarterly basis, and it's a 3-day boot camp. And during that class, I teach agents exactly the steps of not just how to communicate. Like for example, in our scription role play, I teach you, here's the dialogue, here's the words to use. But more importantly than that, I teach you, here's why those words work. Because when you put the words together in this certain way, you only have to learn one way to communicate. Then, no matter what the circumstance is, you already are skilled and equipped to be able to communicate the most effectively. All right. Because the problem with practicing scription role play is that you can practice an objection to, I should think about, for example, I could teach you 10 different ways to handle that, but I'd rather teach you the 10 different ways to handle that. Plus, why do those ways actually work? So now you may be in a different situation, getting a different objection, and now you know how to put the words together. So during the CPI certification, I teach agents how to be able to find business, how to be able to get hired 85% of the time, how to be able to set the to avoid the predictable problems of a transaction, how to be able to have no broke months, how to be able to communicate with your clients excessively and be able to make more money, derive more profit, and avoid the obstacles in the market. Now, if agents are looking for a free class, I offer that on a monthly basis, which is the 5-day listing challenge. And so agents can go to www.5daylistingchallenge. And during that, it's a 5-hour class, 1 hour a day, live instruction, and then 1 hour on-demand instruction. So I guess it's actually 10 hours of instruction, 5 that are live. And during that class, I teach agents exactly how to take listings in today's market. These tactics work today, and I reveal everything. I don't hold anything back. And that's at www.5daylistingchallenge.com. So those are some of the ways that agents can find some valuable resources to help you.
Is it The number 5. Can you even do that in a website, or is it spelled out?
It's the number 5. The number 5 day listing challenge.
Okay, perfect. And Dan, we actually ask all of our listeners to provide a golden nugget for free for our listeners. This can be a checklist, a tool, a product, whatever you have. And is there something that you would mind giving away for our listeners?
I'm giving away that class for free, the 5-day listing challenge. And that is going to be more valuable than any checklist, anything that I can do. And if you're looking for a funnel of checklists, of scripts, et cetera, you can go to nobrokemonths.com. And on that website, I give away every single thing that I do for free. Everything I do for free, agents can find there, the resources, the tools, everything that I do over the last 16 years. Go to that website. It's yours for the taking.
Okay, perfect. Listeners, definitely go check those out. And if you want all of our tools and products from previous listeners, they're all uploaded at theagentgoldmine.com for free. So head over there and get your free tools and products. Dan, so you have had a long, massive career in real estate. You've had a brokerage, you've done investments personally, you have a team, you have courses. So looking ahead, what does the future look like for you?
Starting next year. So we're filming this or recording this at the end of 2023. And starting into 2024, I'm going to launch out into other industries to be able to help agents salespeople, entrepreneurs, small business people, for them to understand the frameworks to sales, so that I'm going to start coaching people in other industries. What I believe is going to happen in the real estate industry is I believe that there's going to be a consolidation of the top performing people that are going to, you're going to see many big teams that are going to be sort of present in the marketplace. And I think it's going to be harder and harder for the individual agent to succeed. And you're going to see technology-based brokerages to be able to get a foothold, and for them to be able to outcompete individual agents. So I think right now is the time to position yourself so that you either create a team, you join the right team, or you get as many relationships as possible as an agent to be able to prepare for yourself, because artificial intelligence, big data, technology, commoditization, the economy, these are all circumstances that are present in our industry today.
I have a question about the recent occurrence. What do you think the future holds for buyers agents and commissions?
I think I don't care. I think that I'm going to do whatever the heck it takes to be able to succeed. And if the circumstance changes, then I'm going to have to be more creative, more thoughtful. I'm going to have to work harder. I'm going to have to take different avenues than what's worked in the past. Now, that being said, I've never worked with a buyer that hasn't hired me. I don't see that it would be that much more of a challenge to be able to get compensated from them directly than compensated from the seller, if you have the right skill set, and if you have the right experience, and if you're willing to actually get compensated for your services. I have no problem going to a seller and asking for them to compensate me. So I don't see that there's a big difference from asking a seller to compensate me than from asking a buyer. But ultimately, it's got to be your mindset. And if our mindset right now is okay, like what, it's maybe scared, maybe whatever the case may be, listen, don't focus on it. Focus on being the very best agent that you can be. Focus on providing value. Focus on learning the basic tools, and get hired by a buyer, get hired by a seller, provide value, and just go rock and roll.
I think the one thing that's going to need to change on the quick side is the VA loan, being that, the VA buyers, as you know, they can't pay for anything extra. They can't pay for the buyer's commission. So that's going to have to change on the fly in order for them to not be significantly hurt, But anyway, well, I'm sure that'll change. Before we head to our wrap-up questions, is there anything that you'd like to talk about?
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
if you are listening to this right now and you have a definitive goal in mind, I want you to consider that you can do it. I want you to consider that there are people in this life who look just like you, who have the same experience as you. When you look in the mirror, that same person's looking back. The difference is they've already achieved what it is that you want to achieve. And that is a true statement. So if that is a true statement, then whatever it is that you want to achieve is possible. There's evidence of that, guaranteed. So now that we have evidence of that, now whatever that limiting thinking that you may have in your brain that's holding you back from achieving the goals in your life that you want to achieve and being the person that you want to be, put that aside and just go do the action. Go be the person. Believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, borrow my belief. I believe, because you want to be listening to this right now. If you weren't worthy of my belief in you, you can do this. And I want to make sure that everybody listening to this gets that.
Perfect. Okay, Dan, wrap up question numero uno. What is your favorite app or tool? And this can be business or life.
Do I have to answer in Spanish?
No Spanish today. I would not be able to understand you. Anyway, numero uno is the only Spanish that I know.
The app that I'm using right now is, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's not Mind Valley. Mind Valley is a different thing. Headspace. So Headspace for meditation. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's a good one. And actually, that's like, I think the second time that someone's brought that up. So I like that. What events are you going to? Oh yeah, hit us.
I just recently read, and I'm rereading right now, Tools of the Type by Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss takes all the podcasts that he's done, including Gary Keller. He interviewed him, but he doesn't put Gary Keller in the book there. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, he puts Barack Obama. I mean, these are world-class performers that Tim Ferriss interviews. And what Tim Ferriss realized was that 80% of these billionaires, of these thought leaders, of these entertainment leaders, that 80% of them had a common element to them, which is that they meditate or they have had a practice of meditation. And that's why I recommend Headspace, because again, success leaves clues. And oh, by the way, so does failure. And we know that 80% of those top performers all meditate. So just take that for whatever it is.
That's so true. And a lot of them spoke about sleep too, like the quality of sleep and sleeping in like a cool environment. I ended up purchasing the chili pad because of Tools of Titans and then it broke, but oh well. Yeah. It was good while it lasted. Dan, what events are you going to in 2024, or what events do you typically go to?
EXPCon, I will go to the Inman events as well. So those are the events that I'll be going to. I have, for the 16 years of my career, I have gone to at least 2 events every single year, more likely 4 events at least, and actually more likely more than that. So I'm a firm believer that you should travel someplace. There's a benefit to that, and there's a benefit from knowing world-class, people from across the country, from creating those relationships, from learning from others. And what I found is when you go to an event, people become more transparent than if you're in your local neighborhood or your local market, because unfortunately, people sometimes are still a little bit withheld because they look at you as a competition. By the way, if you think that you're a competition or you think that there's other competitors, I live in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. There are 6 million people in my neighborhood. Even if I had a 1% of a 1% of a 1% market share, I would still, be a little bit too busy to be able to do more. There is not competition, right? There's only mindset.
Dude, Allie and I feel the events thing hard right now because we just got back like literally yesterday from Pillars Retreat, our community within EXP actually, our annual retreat. And there's nothing better than that like in-person energy and the time and the space allotted to like bring down any walls that may have still existed and like get to the real deep vulnerabilities and the sharing with people who are going through the same thing that you are. So we freaking are all about the events. We'll probably see you at EXPCon next year. And yeah, Ali and I are going to go on like freaking tour this next year and try to hit a ton of events. So stoked to see you there. Dan, what is the coolest thing that you've learned recently?
Well, the coolest thing that I've learned recently, I am learning on a daily basis. And oftentimes what I find that it's sort of like it's a reiteration of something that I've learned in the past. But I would tell you what I'm embracing life as right now is just a series of experiments. And so as I'm looking at anything that I want out of life, instead of making it hard, I'm just saying, what if this was an experiment? And what if it was just an experiment that I would say, I'm going to close 10 transactions a month or 10 transactions a year, or I'm going to have a beautiful relationship, or I'm going to be healthy, or I'm going to be fit, or I'm going to be able to have a fantastic relationship with my daughter. What if those were all just experiments? And I think the framework of treating life as an experiment allows for you to remove some fears, to remove some limiting beliefs, and to be able to just take the action that if this was an experiment, what would that person do? It was an experiment to say, I'm going to experiment that I'm going to be able to take my first listing in the next 90 days. And that's just an experiment, or the next 30 days. What would that person do? And then do the experiment.
Sweet. And then last question, Dan, where can people find you? What's the best way for people to contact you in case they had any questions and anything else that you want to plug?
Sure. You can Google Dan Rochon, Rochon, and I bet that you'll be able to find it. But if you want to access more directly, I recommend, I've got a YouTube channel. It's pretty cool. The No Broke Months YouTube channel. That is really awesome. Shelby's been on the No Broke Months podcast before. That is really awesome. Allie will be on there soon. We'll organize that. She doesn't know that she'll be on there soon, but she will be. We'll just create that to happen. And on all the different social medias, et cetera. So No Broke Months is the podcast and the YouTube channel.
Sweet. And guys, make sure to go follow Dan, show him all the support in the world. He's like a freaking super cool human, as if you didn't already know that listening to this. And in case you don't follow me and Allie, we are Allie the Agent and the Shelby Show on the gram. Hit us with feedback. We want to know how we can improve and who you want on the show. And otherwise, that is it for today. Dan, thank you so much for being on the Agent Goldmine. And listeners, this one is for you. Be a bro and share this show.
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.